briefly so everyone knows who you are.
Yeah, hey, I'm Sergiusz. I'm up here in Boden studying game design, and I moved here from Poland around September to study game design. And my game that I'm gonna be presenting during this webinar is Honk, a driving arcade game about delivering passengers on a bus.
Fantastic. All right, Bryan.
Hello, everyone. My name's Bryan Lobo, and I am from India. I moved to Sweden about 4 months ago. Uh, I attended the first half of my education online because of some issues. But anyways, I was formerly working with Ubisoft as QA, after which I decided that getting into the game design spectrum of development was where my career was heading. And that is what brings me here. Excited to see what I mean, I've been grateful for everything Future Games has taught me, and excited to see what happens. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Gustav?
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Gustav Englund, and I'm born and raised in Sweden. Have been living in the north for the past 10 years. So, and I study here in Boden. So I didn't travel as far as Sergiusz or Bryan. I have a slightly different background. I have 12 years of experience from restaurants and hotels. So I've been cooking, serving drinks, serving wine, but I've always been a passionate gamer, and been doing my side projects after I came home from work. So, and now I took the plunge, and I'm super excited to be a student at Future Games, and excited to see what you guys who are here at the webinar are going to produce. Looking forward to play it in the future.
Absolutely, I definitely agree. Thank you so much. So these are the students who are currently studying at our game design education. And once again, they're first year, so they started just this September in their educational journeys. But now moving on to the second year students, we're going to start with Jonas.
Hello, my name is Jonas. I come from Stockholm. This is my second year at Future Games. So I'm currently doing my internship at House of How. I've had a bit of a long, how do you call it? A very stretched out history with game development. I've been making games since I was like 11 or something, and like these really, really bad games. But it's something I really enjoy doing, and I hope to show that just how much fun you can have at a place like this where you do great games.
Thank you so much. Fredrik?
Hello, my name is Fredrik. I'm also a designer and an intern at House of How with Jonas. My background isn't as first as other people. I've been in schools like pretty much all my life. So I'm doing this by pure choice. I haven't done a lot of things, so I'm pretty new to this, but it's going well. It's a lot of fun. Future Games gives a lot of options to do this, and yeah, it's been great, and it's real fun. And I'm representing But a Dream, a horror type of game.
Fantastic. Thank you. And last, but of course not least, Zeke.
Yeah, most important persons here. Hello, everyone.
Hi,
I'm Zeke. I'm second year student studying Future Games, and I particularly interested in user interface and user experience design. And currently I'm doing my internship at Star Stable Entertainment. It's a lovely game company at Sweden. I enjoy my studies Future Games. I enjoy my internship. Future Games changed my life. I come from China, by the way. And today I'm more honored because I did UI for 2 games. You can guess which 2. Okay, that's me.
Perfect. Thank you so much for this wonderful introduction, everyone. All right, but now that you've met everyone who we're going to be talking to, once again, we're going to take it in a step-up fashion. So we're going to start with the first year, and we're going to move on to the second year projects. And we're actually going to start with the first year Game Project 1 project. Just to give you a brief background on what game projects are. Basically, game projects are like, once again, from 2 to 10-week projects where you get to make a game with all the other disciplines. So usually the way courses are structured at Future Games is that you have a bunch of courses teaching you, let's say, engines, or if you're an artist, teaching you an art program, teaching you skinning and rigging and everything in between. But at the time when everyone is ready for making an actual game, we have 4 game projects in our curriculum where everyone gathers together and you use all the expertises from different disciplines. Like, for example, game designers coming together with artists and programmers and QA testers and everyone in between, just to make this one awesome experience. And today we're going to be looking at 4 of them. And I think we can start. Piotr, are you ready to showcase the trailers for these amazing games?
Yeah, definitely. Just let me know
Absolutely.
which should I start first?
All right, then let us start with the trailer for the game called Honk,
Hong
which
Kong.
was once again first year game project 1 project. Let's kick it off.
Sure, I'm on it.
Piotr is our hacker who's gonna.
Yeah, I just
share
have to
his
remember
screen.
to mute myself to be heard, as our IT said. Just let me mute.
Piotr, did you share the sound on the video?
Can you hear the sound?
No, I think
No.
you forgot to click the share sound button.
Okay. Let's again, share sound. Right, of course. Uh, Okay. So this was the trailer for the game. So now I think, Sergiusz, the stage is yours. Julia has a set of nice questions to you. And maybe
Yeah,
I'll
I'm actually
try
super
to
curious.
play the gameplay in the background.
Yes, please do. So we have some pre-recorded snippets of gameplay that, so that you can see the game a bit better. But yes, so the 2 people who worked on this game were Sergiusz and Bryan. First of all, once again, I just want to say I love that game. I think it's so cute, but it's also like so funky, and the UI and UX work that has been put into it is just astounding. You really knocked it out of the park with this one. So first of all, my question is, how long did you have to make this game?
It was 2 weeks, like the courses scheduled, right? So we had 2 weeks, which was like excluding weekends, and with a midway review after the first week.
All right. And what were your roles in making this game? What did you guys do?
So I was just as Bryan, I was a game designer. Bryan focused more on level design, and we both cooperated on the gameplay. And I took more charge of project management and things like input design and UI and UX.
Bryan, could you tell me a bit more also about your contributions?
Yes, I worked, as Sergiusz mentioned, I worked as a level and system designer. And as for the level, it was more of working in terms with unlocking the full potential of what the programmers had done, because the driving mechanics for the game are really, I'm not sure what the right word is, but it's meant to be fun. Like, you're not supposed to get it in your first playthrough. So for level design, the focus was mainly to unlock the full potential of how this could be used neatly, as in like sharp turns or just ensuring that there is a lot to explore. So as for that, yeah, level and system designs were my primary focus for the game.
All right, fantastic. Because I'm just curious, you said the game project was 2 weeks long, but at the same time, do you remember how much time you've spent at Futuregames up until when the beginning of the project was?
I think it was like 1 week, because before that we had 3 weeks of C# course and then 2 weeks of prototyping. So it was like something like 1 month before, 1 month after the school started.
All right, so
Yeah,
you just, yeah, go for it.
Sorry, no, the basic challenge with the first game project was that nobody knew anyone in the group. I think that was common for every group because everybody was just new to the education. So the fact that we were able to pull off that project with a group of unknowns and get together and make something great is what the highlight of our first game project was.
Actually, my question is, how did you manage to pull it off? Because once again, it's insane how polished your experience is for 2 weeks of production.
Yeah, I think that we owe a lot to good structure of our project, which was like we used Miro a lot to convey ideas to each other, and it like took a lot of care in making sure that we're doing things in the correct order, and we're doing features like in an order that allows us to produce new iterations quickly, so that nobody's like left not working because they're waiting on something else, right?
What is your perspective on it, Bryan?
Yeah, I think it's
Like,
pretty much
what's the success? How did you manage to pull it off? Like, wow, how?
I think we did take some time to get to know each other well. So we basically laid out all of our strengths, our weaknesses. We tried ensuring that whatever direction we took was something everyone was comfortable with. Also in the sense that everybody had some of their own ideas put into the game such that it made them feel that, you know, this game is really mine, even if they were an artist and didn't really contribute to the game design perspective. They still had things they were very passionate about and create something that everybody would be proud of. So everyone was given their creative freedom to do things the way they wanted.
That's fantastic. It seems like you had a very nice dynamic for this project.
Yeah, I really think that we hit gold with our team for this project.
So who did you work with, if you can remind me? So it was you guys who are designers, and who else was involved?
Yeah, it was from the programmers, it was Simon Pearson and Teddy Mullen as programmers. From artists, it was, if I can remember,
Pratik
I don't
and
yeah,
Sarah,
I don't remember their surnames. And from QA, it was Patrick Virkin and Teddy Belander in our team.
All right, perfect. So you had QAs on board, you had artists on board, programmers and designers.
Yeah.
Perfect. What would you say was like the most fun about working on this project?
I think I had a lot of fun when I was like adjusting the feel of the bus driving, and then like just slight adjustments, then send it to the QAs and then receive feedback from them about it. Like it was a lot of the development time went into that, making sure that the bus feels very good to drive.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Bryan?
For me, I would say it was more of the learning process, like knowing what I wanted to do, but not knowing how to do it initially was the challenge, of course. But you know, with the right guidance at the right times, I think there was things I really wanted to master, which is something I could take onto future projects, like eventually. So basically, the whole learning process of knowing what you want to do and how to actually get about it is my highlight from GP1.
Absolutely. And of course, for the first game project, it is meant to be a learning experience. And I'm very happy to hear that you're coming up with so many great ideas for future projects as well. And of course, now you have the skill set to make amazing games in such a short time span. But coming back to the very beginning of the project. How was Hong Kong born? Like, how did you decide, okay, we're gonna make a game about a bus in a town?
Like when the theme for the game project was revealed, it was future mobility, and my brain kind of twisted that into the future of mobility, and for me that was like transporting people by electric buses instead of like cars. So I thought that like game about getting from bus stop to bus stop as quickly as possible, and the entire team just went with it. Also, I remember one of the biggest mechanics, like Bryan suggested that there should be the bus should, like, if it runs on the battery, there should be like charging stations and like battery charge that slowly depletes, and that also became like one of the major mechanics in the entire game.
Yeah, and I think it adds an extra fun challenge of like, okay, of course you're driving people around, but also at the same time you need to manage something else on top of that.
Yes.
I remember the design decision where you decided, or no, I don't think you can see the bus on the minimap, right?
No,
No.
you can't.
What was the thought behind that design decision specifically?
For me, it was making additional layer of challenge of learning the map. At the beginning, you just see the minimap with symbols, and then when you eventually stumble onto like the first bus stop, and you instinctively stop on it, because when you first open the game in the main menu, you have to start the game by landing on like a bus stop. That's a start. So you're drawn to the bus stops to stop on them, and you first stop on them, you kind of like see the icon appear in the bottom corner of like the passenger, and then you notice that it matches something on the map, and then you like just slowly learn the map. It's just it's just I like that flow of like interactions a lot. And
Awesome.
also maybe it was even a bigger variable is that I was worried that making the bus be on the map actually would take too long.
Well, cutting foreigners, it's not about the
Yeah.
future. So smart design choices for sure. Brent, but I'm curious, when you go into the main menu, there was like sunny weather and rainy weather. What is that for?
The rainy weather is just like an added variable of difficulty. Basically, you are more prone to drifting off track when you are driving in the rain. So it's simply that the first initial sunny level is you getting used to the controls, how the buffs moves and stuff. And if you want an added degree of challenge, you just pick it up in the rainy weather. It was a simple implementation in the sense of the mechanics are set in place. You just add one modifier to it and it gives you a whole new game mode. And given the time constraints of the first game project, we thought that it would be a nice addition that we are not limiting it to one map and one style of play. You can also go up for a challenge if you really want to. So that was our approach on it.
But honestly, also the added factor that the rain looks really nice.
It
and
does,
really
yeah.
cool. Like
Alright.
it gives it a completely different vibe. Almost like a
Yeah.
horror game, almost. I really, really like that. What's your like biggest takeaway out of this project? Maybe like the biggest learning that you're gonna have for all the next game projects that you're gonna be working on.
I think that for me it was definitely that structuring like is almost everything in developing games and teams, and like if you don't have a good structure, it's gonna create like so much problems later down the line, and like time losses. So yeah, for me it was like the structure is so important when you're working in a team.
What about you, Brian?
Yeah, for me, again, structure, yes, definitely very important. And also to add to that, I feel like you can have a team with the best of programmers, the best of artists, but if you are not able to collaborate and if you do not trust your members in some sense, like where you can't put in a team effort towards producing something, the game is never going to work out. So the fact that our GP1 team was really well acquainted with others over time, and everybody was, contributing in their right aspects. Okay, I mean, yeah, everybody was just, focused on one particular goal and worked well together. So I think that is more important than being skilled by yourself, that you are skilled as a person who can work in a team. So that was my biggest takeaway.
Actually, I think that's a wonderful answer, especially because game development is so much about working in a team. And of course, solo developers exist, and there's been many, many games made by solo developers with incredible quality. However, if you want to work in the industry, or your goal is to join, let's say, a AAA studio and work on the next biggest AAA title, then teamwork skills are so incredibly vital. So honestly, I think, yes, one of the most important things is just to be a nice person to work with, and just be positive and always willing to learn, because there's so much to learn when making games. But also, of course, just collaborate greatly with your team members. Awesome. Your game is called Honk. Why is it called Honk?
Because Bus can make that sound in my mind. Someone also like, I think it was, I don't remember, someone in our team suggested the name Hong Kong. It was like, yeah, that sounds right.
What does honking in the game do? Because you can actually honk.
Yeah, you can, but it's yeah, not in the gameplay video now. But you can.
Does it do anything, or is it just like?
No, it's absolutely 100% just flavor.
Well, it's kind of hilarious. Imagine you're like sleeping on a nice Saturday morning, you hear a bus driving by your house, just someone honking constantly.
But very nice name, a very catchy one. So
I think so too,
right
right?
on myself. Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right. For everyone in this meeting, what would you suggest, like, if they want to become game developers, from your experience so far at Futuregames and in general being game developers, what would be your one tip that you would give?
I would say to not be afraid to speak up, because what me and other people also we talked about some time was that game development is seen as like very like industry for like like most of us here, if not all, are nerds, right? And the perspective is that this is game industry for nerds, right? But the harsh truth is that you really need like very good communication skills here, because everything boils down to like talking a lot and discussing ideas. And I would suggest, like, it's gonna be, even if you're struggling with like like social interaction, like it's gonna be easier with people who like you can connect at the level where like they are interested in the same stuff. But really, like, good communication skills and being able to listen and also express your ideas is like, I think, one of the most important skills a game designer can have.
That's a very good point. Make friends while at Futuregames, but also in general, just it's awesome to have someone who has same hobbies as you and you get to connect with them. What about you, Bryan? What's your one tip for everyone who is interested in game development?
Again, like once you're in the school, you're going to be focusing, like eventually as you get through different courses, you're going to find your specific niche as to what you want to specialize in. For me, that being level design in this case. But yeah, before getting into the school, do not, my advice would be, do not limit your options, keep your horizons open, because I did come in with a specific goal of getting into the narrative aspects of it. But as and when I got into the level design courses, I felt, maybe I can be of more assistance to the game by being a level designer. So of course, over time, you will find your specific niche, you'll find what you're good at. But before you get into the school, do not limit yourself. Get in through each course, see how you are able to perform with it, what you are able to get out of it, and make your decision when it's the right time, once you've gone through everything. That would be my advice.
That's a fantastic advice. Thank you so much. Once again, yes, don't limit yourself and communicate with others and be friendly towards others. Awesome. All right. Now I want to ask you guys, do you have any questions to Sergiusz and Bryan in their amazing game Honk, a bus driving in the rain? From the comments, V says, it looks amazing. I agree.
Yeah, thanks.
Super cute. Yes, Zeke, I agree. All right, if there's no more questions, then I'm gonna say thank you so much, Bryan and Sergiusz, for showcasing fantastic game Hong Kong. Once again, guys, imagine 2 weeks. This game was made in 2 weeks. I still don't believe how, because it was just such an incredibly short amount of time, but you managed to pull off something so amazing, so great, that is gonna look absolutely stellar in your portfolios. So let's all give a round of clap applause to our first presenters and Hong Kong. And then we're gonna move on to the second
There is
project.
a question
Oh,
from Artyom. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name correctly.
yep. Why you chose Unity over Unreal or other engines?
That's because the two first game projects in Futuregames are done in Unity. Then two others, third and fourth, is done in Unreal, and the degree project is the one where you can choose whatever engine you want. Right, from what I remember.
Yes, that is exactly correct. So yeah, second project, we're also going to be looking at the Unity project. That was like a short spoiler for what's next to come. And then we're going to go into Unreal for the upcoming projects after that. But let us welcome on stage Gustav with the second project that we're going to be looking at. So this project was Game Project 2, which means it was made after the first project. But also it means that this project had a bit more time to be worked on. So Piotr, if you could please share the,
not a dream,
once
right?
again, share with no,
No, Vanta.
Vanta.
Vanta, yeah. Let me know if you can hear the sound.
Yes, we can hear it.
Yep.
Okay, we can hear it or no, but there's nothing on my screen at the moment. I could see the file explorer, but I couldn't see
Yeah,
the actual video.
Sorry.
No
Just
worries.
give me a second. Yeah.
We're still just seeing the Explorer, not the video.
Yeah, for some reason it puts on pause when I share. So how to go over it? Just give me a second. That's strange. Because the moment I make play, it stops sharing the visual. So maybe it's too much going on with recording as well here. Let me try in a VLC then. Now,
That's only sound.
No sound?
That's only sound.
Only sound. Okay.
I think the problem might be that you're sharing like only the file explorer, but not the video itself. So like you're sharing the folder with the video, but not the video.
Okay. Yeah. Sound. Okay. Desktop.
Okay, I can see the video now. Perfect. Oh, good. Come. That was so beautiful. I love this game so much. Don't tell anyone, but I think it's my favorite game ever. Just don't tell anyone else. All right. So Gustav, hello and welcome. We are gonna now talk about the game that you've made during Game Project 2, Vanta. First of all, once again, I just want to preface, this game is so fantastic, so amazing. I think everyone should just go and play it. Download it on itch. And by the way, all of these games are available on itch, if I'm not mistaken.
They should be, right?
Yeah.
Vanta
So,
definitely
you guys,
is.
yes. So if you want to try out the game, feel free to go onto our itch page and yeah, download the game, try it out. And also there's so many more games published there from all of the different game projects. There's literally just a wall of games. So feel free to find the games that are interesting, to try it out, to see what type of games students usually create during the game projects. But now coming back to Vanta and this absolutely beautiful game. First of all, how much time did you have to make it?
Well, we had 4 weeks to make it, and out of those 4 weeks, we worked actively. The first week was pretty much all deciding on coming up with an idea. By the end of the first week, I think we really had very little. We had some stuff that was playable, but compared, I think a lot of people in our group was a little bit stressed by the end of the first week, because when you looked at the guy next to you, they had a lot more than we had, and then but the following 3 weeks we worked pretty much Monday through Thursday quite intensely. And then every Friday we sort of had a sit down with the entire team and discussing, like, I described it as we opened Pandora's box every Friday and discussed like the game direction and what it's supposed to be, because we didn't want to talk about that during Monday through Thursday, because those days we were supposed to just work and no questions asked. But on Fridays, everything was up for grabs. So 3 weeks. Or
That's
4.
actually such an interesting way to work, where like you commit to something for a week and then you discuss pros and cons, and then you iterate upon that. Were there a lot of like significant changes where you had to rework everything from scratch, or like you managed to build something and then you're like, okay, it doesn't really fit, so we're going to scrap it? Were any of these present in your development?
Yeah, we definitely. I mean, there's a lot of things that we made that's not in the game, but I think we managed to avoid it. It didn't really become a nuisance because we were quite open to because the original idea was sort of like, yeah, let's do something that's only black and white, and we work with light, and that's a pretty strong direction. And we had some concept art early on from our amazing artists. You can tell we've had amazing artists to work with, and we had some concept art with everybody was like on board. Let's do that game that's on that picture, but nobody knew how that game played. So there was a sense of discovery. We worked towards that. And when we had something, when we could move around, then we sort of discovered that, hey, maybe we could do this. And from that perspective, we prototyped a lot of sort of features and mechanics. And for some reason, people sort of did that on their own, but it tended to work. But of course, sometimes you prototype stuff and it's just not gonna fit, right? And that happened. But we're still working on it. So a lot of those features are gonna have a second chance.
That's awesome. Actually, could you, once again, if we circle a bit back, what is the game about? Like, how do you play the game? Why is there two moths? Is it moths?
Well, the white one is a butterfly, and the dark character is a moth. So the lore of the game is that there's this shadow realm that's for some reason submerged underground, and below there the shadow character is this sort of shadow spirit, and the light character is a light spirit, and for some reason it falls down from the surface world, and then they need to sort of work together and cooperate, and they will travel through this ruined society, and if you pay attention to the sort of environmental storytelling, you will realize, or players will realize, that they can that these two creatures, even though they were different, they've had sort of a common past, or they share a common heritage. So it's a lot. I mean, the theme of the game project was symbiosis. So we wanted to make this sort of yin and yang styled characters, where of course, yeah, you have the black and white, and we use black for the dark character. We use white as a contrast color and the opposite, and we try to make that also in gameplay. So they play quite differently.
Actually, how do they play?
Well, the light player it moves around, and since it's flying, so the butterfly is floating above the ground and will very, very slowly fall. So it can cross gaps quite easily. And it's also, I mean, the butterfly is a light source, so it will shed light around it. And then the moth character is it's grounded, so it needs to be on the ground. It has a very pitiful small jump that maybe could have been cut, but I really liked it, so it stayed in. A little bit like the honking mechanic of Honk. You can jump because it feels good. And the sort of the core mechanic is that since the shadow is a shadow, it doesn't exist outside of the light. So as you can tell, when the shadow character is not inside the light, it can do sort of unexpected things, like walk through walls or drop through floors and things like that. But I don't want to spoil too much if someone goes on itch and plays it.
Recommended, go play it on it.
Definitely, bring a friend.
All right. So you've worked on this project for like almost 4 weeks. What would you say was like your biggest learning outcome out of this project? What are you going to take into further projects that you're going to be working on?
I think for my part, my like interest and skill set is definitely more on the sort of the technical side of game development. I love to program. I like wrapping my head around how engines work. I even like math. Like, that's fun to me. And to me, like, a game development process before this had never been very much more than just, a square that can go whoosh, which feels good to move around. And when we did this game, quite early on, we understood that if this is going to work, we're going to have to nail these soft factors, like what does the game sound like, what is the atmosphere, and what emotions will the players sort of feel when they play it. And that was it was really interesting to actually have that, to have such a goal. It felt like we were actually designing an experience to a larger extent, and then also to have these sort of discussions. We had the workshops where we would like go one by one and sort of close our eyes and just, okay, imagine what the game would sound like, or what kind of sounds can you hear, and how does it look, or what is there, and why. And that was really, for me, a huge learning experience, to actually like have a serious discussion about these things, and also to take it from these sort of very vague, because anyone can have a good game idea and describe it quite eloquently around the dinner table probably, but when it comes to sort of pulling that into like actual tasks and things that need to be done, that's a lot harder. So having that discussion, I think, was a huge learning experience for me.
Yeah, that's actually a very, very good point. Once again, going through these projects and taking some skill sets and some knowledge into further projects. But of course, also, once again, I think it all boils down to communication. And once again, you seem to have really, really good communication in your team.
We did definitely. I mean, I think on the one part, we had a lot of there was a lot of people who had very strong ideas about what the game should be. So, and there's a reason why we had a bit of a slow start, because we really didn't get moving until everybody was on board, and that took, the first week was a bit taxing, but I think it paid off for us a lot, that we actually took the time to make sure that everybody was comfortable and everybody was agreeing on the sort of the direction. So yeah, communication is key. But then again, when it comes to talking about these sort of weird things, right, like emotions and atmospherics, it's not like ordering coffee.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, in game projects as well, since you're usually working with just a fresh set of people you might not even have seen before in your life, some conflicts might occur. Did you experience any conflicts or tension between your teammates?
Yeah, especially during the first week, we had some. I'm not gonna say conflict, because it was all very civil, but during the sort of the brainstorming phase, we definitely we butted heads, and we rejected many ideas, and we were actually very close with making a very, very different game, but our project manager at that point said, hey guys, let's just pull it one more round, and then this idea opened up. So I'm very glad that we weren't afraid of that, and that sort of comes back to this point that Sergiusz was making, that don't be afraid to speak up, because even though it might be scary to sort of go against the flow of a group and say, hey, no, I want to think, when everybody else just want to start working, it might be the thing that's gonna save the group.
Yeah. Since you managed to deliver such like literally fantastic, absolutely mind-blowing experience at the end of it, what is your maybe like most proudest accomplishment out of it all?
I mean, my role was pretty much like, I was the one. I was like the main guy that people came back to. I was sort of the hub in this whole communication spokes wheel, and it comes back to the thing to be able to talk about these sort of very soft and weird concepts, like atmospherics, and it was hard, because I at many times I got questions about how a certain feature should work, or how something should look, and I had no idea. But I think I'm proud of being able to sort of approach that with a very from a humble position where I could I didn't need to know all the answers, and I could sort of, and also a very important thing is that we had this atmosphere of trust that I could say, well, I have no idea how the lever is going to look, but I know that Max is working on it and it's going to be in line with what we've already been talking about because we trust our team. And I think building that sort of trusting environment, it definitely, once again, that's probably why we had a slow start. It took a little bit of a while to reach each other. But that I think is, I'm very happy with that. I'm proud of that we could have that climate in our group.
Looking forward to the next game projects, are you gonna take everything that you've just discussed about trust and having a slow start into further projects, or are you gonna do something differently?
I think the slow start is definitely a win. I think that's that one I'm gonna bring with me in whatever I do, and I've already have. Like if I feel like I'm at the bottom of the barrel after 2 days of a course, that's probably just a good thing, because if I struggle now, that's gonna pay off later. I know we've been talking like in the retrospective when we're looking back as a group on this project. We have been a little bit divided on whether it was a good thing or not, that because at the beginning of the project the direction was very vague, and that was quite taxing on a lot of the team members. I think it paid off, because if we had tried to decide on a concept in an earlier point, then we probably wouldn't have ended up with something as good, because we sort of discovered the game as we made it. So I know that some parts of our team think that that was bad, and that we could have made a better game if we had a more clear vision from the start. I'm not so sure. But I will pass that on from the rest of the team.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember having mentoring sessions with you guys in the beginning when you just had walls, and I don't even remember if you had like the pushing blocks mechanic, but it's kind of insane how much you took from just having walls, and maybe you can push a block if you get lucky, to this amazing experience at the end. It's truly mind-boggling.
Yeah, the pushable block was fun, actually. It's because it's actually not that hard of a challenge from a technical perspective, unless you're gonna start switching up the collisions, because that was the problem with the pushable block. Because sometimes it was gonna be translucent, or sometimes it's pushable and sometimes it's not, and it went so far that by the end of the project, anytime I pushed anything to the server regarding like the pushable block, I started putting remove the hero Bryan in the changelog, because we just couldn't get it to work.
All right. You mentioned in the beginning that you were actually continuing working on this game.
Yes, we are.
What are you working on, if it's not a secret?
Well, there will be more levels. There is a more fleshed out narrative. We're still only working with environmental storytelling. There will be more environments, and there will be some gameplay changes. I don't want to say too much because it's not decided, but one thing that got cut was that we wanted some kind of enemy that could chase the players as a sort of a set piece moment, not any combat, but some sort of intense escape scene. And I'm pretty sure that idea is going to make a comeback.
Oh, okay, it's going to be more tense with like some epic music on the background. I think that's going to be amazing. Once again, as a reminder to everyone to go on Futuregames HIO page, find this game. It's called Vanta, and check it out. And perhaps give some comments and write your thoughts in the comments as well, and any other game really. What would be your tip for those who want to start maybe at Futuregames or just their journey into game development?
I think don't be afraid to just get into it. Like there's a ton of knowledge on game engines and programming and software on the internet, and like Unreal Engine is free, Unity is free. Like don't be afraid to just get into it and start learning, because there's a ton of knowledge out there, and that would be my advice. Because maybe to me, I mean, I was a slow burner. I was super interested in games for years, but I kept working in restaurants. To me, to work up the courage, it really came down to I started playing around with some game engines and some programming, and I sort of realized that, hey, I could probably do this. So I would say, don't be afraid. Just go. And there's a ton of knowledge out there. Just Google, YouTube. Go for it.
I think that should be the quote of the seminar. Just Google it. But no, I think that's a great tip. And for me as well, I think the earlier you start, the better. So if you're thinking of getting into game development, or if you're thinking about joining any of the curricular Futuregames, just go for it. Already start Googling things, start working on your own personal projects. Because the more work you do early on, the more it's going to help you in the long run, and you're going to be able to make those fantastic games. Thank you so much, Gustav. Does anyone have any questions at the moment? All right, I'm going to read some stuff from the chat. First of all, Zeke says, I thought they're rabbits. They're so cute. Aw. All right, we also have a question or a comment from Unfun. Love the art, very well done with only 4 weeks. My questions are, what's the inspiration behind the game idea? Is there a story behind it? How did you gather people for your team? Are all team members from your course?
Well, so first of all, the inspiration behind the game idea, that's the theme of the game project was symbiosis, and that's definitely the starting point, that we wanted to make this yin and yang style, light and dark, 2 players dependent on each other, local co-op, and from there it kind of grew. And I think the story behind it would probably be, if I'm going to be like, the first day of brainstorming that we had so many ideas and we couldn't get along. We kept sort of rehashing discussions and ideas getting shot down. I was so tired after that first day of brainstorming that I fell asleep on the sofa after 1 glass of wine at like 7, because my brain was just fried. So, but apart from that, the idea really grew kind of dynamically during the project. That's probably that. I mean, the gather people for the team, that's assigned by Futuregames. So we got thrown together with people that we didn't know, mostly. Some of them we knew, and from there it's about opening your heart and like letting people or getting to know people. No, all team members are not from the course. Help me if I'm wrong here now, Julia, but we had project managers, 1 project manager for project manager education, a bunch of programmers from different sort of directions within programming, designers from UX design and game design, and then of course artists, and 1 excellent guy from QA who I'm gonna spoil it. The point of the game is that when you reach the end, you're not supposed to be able to bring one of the characters. The game ends with one of the characters needs to be left behind, and it's supposed to be a sad, profound ending. The QA guy kept managing to get both of the characters across, so he was really excellent. And how he did it in the end, it was just speed run levels of skill. All right.
That's actually hilarious. I can totally see it just like through the wall or just running really, really fast. Why did you choose co-op and not single player?
Once again, that was ordained by Futuregames. At least that's the way we interpreted the assignment. We probably wouldn't have done a co-op game if it wasn't. But I'm really, really happy that we did, because what is it, 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago, I would probably have considered like co-op games to be too ambitious, and that I would shoot that idea down if someone would pitch it for a 4-week project. But it wasn't too ambitious, and it was really good fun to develop for co-op. But the reason was that we thought it, and once again it ties in with the theme, right? Symbiosis. That's codependence. It's sort of it's hard to do that alone. It's like boxing.
And may I have a question? In the case of, for example, if you started studying and obviously it's commitment for 2 years, do you have like possibility to work from home, or like to combine your work and home? Because actually it's not easy to leave the country for 2 years and staying there and pay all the bills, including paying the school. So if there were some cases like that, okay, you met for, I don't know, you brainstorm the idea, you make the idea, okay, we're going to make this, and then everyone went their way and they were doing it from home, or how did you handle such situations, if you had any?
Well, I mean, we definitely had, we discussed that, and there are definitely things that are possible to do, like away from home, or away or from home. I think when we've been circling back to this sort of main point, and that's communication, and there is an aspect of being on site and being able to talk with people, especially when it comes to these sort of softer topics and these like emotions and atmosphere, that it's very, very nice to be able to talk to someone like in person. When it comes to the actual sort of development, it depends a little bit on what source control we're using for this project. We're using Perforce, which is sort of source control tool that's linked to a network, so you need to be on site in order to access it. However, we did have some people who were working mainly from home, and we did make accommodations for that. I think an example would be the guy who did like the bulk of the level design. He had a small dog, and he had about an hour drive to get to the servers. So he actually stayed at home a lot, and made sort of tactical visits maybe once a week to school. But then he would send the stuff that he'd been working, he would send it to me outside of the servers through just a Unity package on Discord, or by a OneDrive, and then I would implement it in the engine. So there are workarounds. I think, however, I would definitely recommend being on site, because, well, once again, Sergiusz made a bunch of good points. There are a lot of nerds here, and that's fucking great. Like,
yeah, I understand. I see the benefit of being on the site as well, to learn from others, to discuss the ideas, to talk about. But or maybe the question is, for example, if the person is on the side and he's working, for example, for his like living job, and then after that he's contributing, let's say from on site, is that okay, or is that an issue? Or because I don't know how it exactly works when it comes to school. If you work already with some studios and you need to commit exactly 8 hours of work, or 8 hours of, I don't know, fail, or this I cannot figure out. That how would work for me if I would join, and then I need to pay all the bills in my country and then in the workshop as well. And along with that, I want to get on the train with the game development. And I would say not the game development, because I'm such a developer myself. It's not that hard for me, but I would say the other aspects, and that's the graphics.
I think maybe Julia or
Yeah.
Piotr should answer this.
Actually, Piotr, do you have an idea how it's going to work in Poland?
How to what? Sorry.
How the working on site is going to work in Poland?
We are here in a pilot phase, right? So we will try to copy the Swedish model and the intensity of the teaching process and learning process. So I cannot promise anything, and this is very frequently asked question, Kamil. Can I combine this course with work? So my answer is I don't know. Ask the Swedish guys how they do it. Ask the students. I know that some combine it with work, but it's also the more you put into this course, the more you will get. The more you will gain, right? So
I think that's a very good point. Then perhaps I should answer it. From what I've seen so far, some students have tried getting or like having a job on the side, but it is quite difficult, especially if schedules are clashing. A lot of our courses or midway reviews or mentoring sessions, for example, with especially external people, usually happen like on random days, sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon. So it is really hard to plan around a very flexible schedule. I would also say like focusing on two things at the same time. Like for example, a 100% job and studying at Futuregames would be almost impossible to pull off. I don't think it's doable, especially during game projects when 100% of your attention needs to go to the game project to make sure that you're communicating with your team and making it work. Yes, you can probably pass all the courses, but it's going to be up to you if you're going to be happy with the work that you are able to produce if you're not able to contribute 100%. Again, I think it's a decision everyone will have to make personally. Like, for example, if they want to have a job in the evenings or on the side, or if they want to do some freelancing while studying. But I would recommend just putting all the focus into studying at Futuregames. I'm not sure if that answers your question, but that's what I've seen through the students.
Yeah, but the nature of the course, it's more designed for than the Warsaw people, because imagine committing 2 years for the kids without the job. It's the expenses comes up to at least 100K for 40 years, including course and payments for the living. Yeah, so that's my main concern and equation, because actually, obviously, for Warsaw people, it's quite easy. They live there. It's quite easy to commute there. But when you have to move in there, you have to pay rent, you have to pay all the expenses you have in there while not working. That means you have to at least put in, I would sum it up around, okay, not 100K, but let's say 50, 60K, definitely.
I may say, you just give you one perspective. If you are a gambler, you can start to study and aim to get the scholarship from CD Projekt Red. We will have 9 scholarships for the best 9 students in Futuregames Warsaw. So they will pay for 1 year of education, but this is gambling, right? So we don't know whom they choose. Otherwise, yeah, unfortunately, we already cut the costs in Poland in half. So this is what we can offer, and for now. So.
All right, but if there's any more questions about the school or any specifics, we can take it at the end of this, because we still have 2 games to go through.
Yes.
And at the end, we have a Q&A session where everyone can just ask whatever questions, either about projects, about school, or, you know, life in general, anything you want to ask.
Right.
Perfect, but thank you so much for asking. Anyways, now moving on to our third project, which is actually...
Can we take a short break? Like, it's been an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's fine for us, guys. So if you want a break, let's 10 minutes.
Thank you so much.
I think that sounds good.
We meet in 10 minutes. Thanks.
All right, everyone. See you back in 10 minutes. All right, is everyone back?
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
So it's time for some anger in management.
Yes, especially for everyone who's been feeling especially angry today, let's release that anger by watching the next trailer. And let's wait for Jonas actually, because
This is
he'll
the
be
one
talking about this.
which plays with the sound as well. And
Yes, we need to make sure there is sound in there.
it was real sound test today. So let me just share with you the trailer.
I suggest we play it on the highest volume so we explode some speakers. It's the one at the top. No, those are YouTube videos. There it is.
Man, it is Wednesday.
This is so good. I love this so much. All right, let's give a round of applause for anger management. And all right, where do we start? What made you decide to work on this game? Like, where did the idea come from? Where's all this pent-up aggression coming from?
Oh dear. I think for the project GP4 that we were doing, the theme was physics or chaos or something like that. I think it was physics. And so me and the team, along with Seek was also on this team. I did the UI. We discussed what is chaos, and we came up with ideas like destroying buildings, objects, and then we came along the track of driving a car in a really, really chaotic traffic situation. So we stood between that and a office, or sort of, there's another game I don't remember the exact name of that also has a similar thing where you just break furniture and throw stuff. But it was between an office destruction simulator and driving a car through and delivering mail through a very chaotic environment. But we went with this one because we thought it was more funny. And also we had someone who wanted to do character animations. And so we stuck with that. It turned out really funny. So
I giggle every time I look at it. It's just so good. How out of a water bottle and a remote or a phone do you make a bomb?
The government will have my head if I disclose that information. So unfortunately, you'll have to figure it out yourself.
I see.
No, but the logic behind the combinations isn't actually too consistent. Right now, we don't have a way to tell you how to do it either. It's more just here's two items on the table, figured out that you can combine them. It's kind of like a proof of concept more than anything, because we want a bomb. We wanted something that explodes, and so we picked up something that looks like a C4. But yeah, there's a lot of other combinations you probably won't figure out yourself. I wish we had more time to actually implement more visuals and more coherent combinations.
What's your favorite combination out of the one you have?
I actually like the bomb a lot, but there's also the lunchbox, which is just an empty box and a sandwich. When you combine those, it becomes a lunchbox, and when you throw that at someone, it's an insta kill.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about the world by looking at this game. Beautiful.
If you've never
but-
been in an office before, this is what it's like.
Yeah. In case people are curious. Beautiful. But actually, what caused all the ruckus at the office?
So the story is that you're just a regular white-collar worker, and at the beginning of the game, there's a mail that you open on your computer that says your boss has fired you because he has to afford his new summer home. So your boss hates you, and so you're like your screen turns red, everything starts shaking, you get mad, and so you go on a hunt to take down your boss. And by doing this, your boss tells the other employees at the office, like, yeah, take down the player character and you'll get a promotion. Which is why everyone else is after you, and why there's so much chaos of people throwing things and why you are throwing things and so forth. And as you can see, the big guy in this little clip here, that's the boss you're supposed to take down.
All right. And what happens when you take down the boss?
Our little narrative is that when you actually defeat the boss, you sit in this chair and so you're like lean back, like, yeah, I just finished my job. And then there's a cut to the next screen where you are the next boss and you're just as bad as the last one.
Oh, the cycle continues.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Honestly, this game is hilarious. But if we talk about development, how much time did you have to make this?
I'm actually not entirely sure how much to include because we had 2 weeks of prototyping where we were just told to brainstorm a little bit, get a sort of consensus with the team, and then make prototypes of the games. So we made 2 prototypes. One was the delivery game with the car, which was also really funny because you just could not drive that car, which is everywhere. And then we made this physics thing where you picked up objects, you threw them, and things ragdolled. So that was our first 2 weeks, and then we spent, I think it was 5 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks, where we created this game. Maybe less even. I'm not entirely sure, but I felt like we had plenty of time.
That's good to hear. Also, if I remember correctly, for this project, you actually worked with programmers only. Is that correct?
Yep, we had no artists. During this project, we were given a budget from the school itself, where we could buy assets from the Unreal Engine store. So we picked a little pack that had very consistent models. There was a lot of office supplies, a lot of chairs, a lot of just general objects you could throw, and that's about it we bought. Like, it's a very big pack, so we didn't have to make any models ourselves. The only models that we made was the characters themselves, which are a very talented programmer made. His name is Alphonse. He made all the animations, and they're so exaggerated. It's so much fun to just see things happen.
Oh my God, they fit so well. And I didn't actually know, you guys, this wasn't a part of the package. This is insane.
No, all the objects and stuff are part of a package that we bought, but the characters and all of that was all Alphonse.
Wow. All right, but this looks amazing. I love this. I love the chaos. Now, if you think back at the project, like, what was maybe the biggest challenge you had with the project, and what did you actually work with during the project?
Well, my role was supposed to be a technical designer, because that's also my sort of specialization. But there was a lot of other stuff that also needed doing, like sound design. There was narrative design and so forth. So I took a little bit of everything rolled for this specific project. What was the other question again?
What was the most challenging part?
Challenging part. Right. I think about midway through, while we were finishing up mechanics and so forth, we had some issues with the levels themselves, because our level designer at the time had other plans that made him too busy to contribute to the project. And we sort of had a hard time communicating at that point. So we had to come up with a resolution to, instead of waiting for him to be finished, we decided that us with free time, where we sort of underscoped or downscoped the project a little bit, to have time to actually make levels that you could play. So me and another programmer who wrote the AI, I made like a template level, and he just copy pasted it, moved some walls, and put in some decoration. So that was probably the biggest challenge that we had, just getting levels in, since our dedicated level designer wasn't able to.
Right. And this is the project that you made in the second year, like right after the summer break, if I remember correctly. Now, if you think back at projects you made during your first year, how would you say you have improved, or like, what did you do differently?
I want to say, like, I often compare this project to the first game project, because my first game project was a disaster. Like, our team did not communicate. We had no sense of planning. And like by the end of the second week, we were almost in tears because we just wanted something to work. And that's because none of us had any experience with working in like these teams at the moment. We didn't really properly communicate what we were going to do. So that was a really bad first project. But this time things went a lot different. This time we actually took time to get to know each other's strengths and so forth. We made a very sort of detailed plan of what we wanted, and we were very like adaptable to that plan. So even if something turned out like, yeah, this is not going to work, we'll just cut it, or this may need some more, and we'll check. Oh, yeah, we have time to do that. So we were always very communicative with what we were doing. And even though we said we were supposed to work from like 9 to 5, all of us came late and left early almost every day, and we still had so much time to do things because of how our plans just went.
That's awesome. It's good to hear like when projects go well and when the team doesn't hate each other and everything just, you know, falls into place at the end. Or even if there is some tension, but that the tension gets resolved. And what you mentioned earlier about helping each other out when one person wasn't able to contribute fully.
Yeah.
Like, you either downscope. Yeah.
I also think that it's sort of an important thing is that at this point in the education, most people have sort of figured out kind of what they want to do. And that leaves you with a more concise sort of cast of group members that know what they want to do, they know how to do it, and you just talk it between each other, like, yeah, this is, you can do this, you can do this, and we can work together on this thing, and so forth. So everyone felt like they knew what they were doing from day one, I feel.
That's awesome. What's like your most proudest accomplishment from anger management?
Our proudest accomplishment of this game. We all did such different things. Like we had Nicholas on the AI, which predicted where you would walk so they would throw more efficiently, which was really cool. We had all the effects that Alphonse made and the models that play around. We had Sieg's UI that he nailed really good, especially the intro where you set up this like 80s computer or like was a Windows XP or something. I don't know, it was a very old computer. He nailed that exactly really well. Everything just like worked really well in its own area, I think. Also like this, it nailed a very specific setting, a very chaotic and very sort of violent setting that we were aiming for. It was like heavy metal blasting, and yeah.
I think this is a great reminder for everyone. If you're ever feeling angry, just go on HIO, find anger and management, and play at your leisure. Murder your boss, and gosh,
especially if it's your boss that you're angry at.
Yeah.
We also have a lot of voice lines from not just our team, but also other people. We just ask like, hey, do you want a voice in our game? So the characters are gonna just say really stupid stuff. Like in the beginning of the tale, it's like, yeah, man, it is Wednesday. Like, what does that mean? I don't know, but it's funny. You just hear the casual talk and they scream around. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, you forgot to talk about your spreadsheets. I'm proud of that part as well.
Oh yeah. as a technical designer, my biggest interest is working with game or system data, which involves a lot of spreadsheets. So even though we really didn't implement that directly into the game, we used it as like a direct reference for when we did balancing. So made a bunch of damage sheets, health sheets, effect sheets. So a lot of just setting up data and so forth, which was also really fun because I got to do what I like.
That's great to hear. For everyone who's interested in joining game development, what would be your number one tip for joining Futuregames?
Well, of course, if you like making games, if you like playing games and so forth, and you feel like, yeah, I want to make my own. Like my motivation was, I like playing games, but there's something missing to them. So I want to add that element to them myself. And if you have that drive, then go right ahead. The only thing to note is, as previous people have said, is that you should really try to not just focus on yourself, but also focus on how you work together with others. Because even though you can make games for yourself, and that's all fine and dandy, it takes a lot more effort. And it's also really good to be able to work with others and a lot more fun. Because like during this project, as an example, we were laughing every day. We had so much fun, just anything we created, we laughed all the time.
Yeah, I can totally see like the first days of maybe conceptualizing, or like the first time you managed to throw something at the person at the office. How hilarious that would have been.
I mean, like I vividly remember me and Zeke sitting next to each other, and then Alphonse sending like a video clip of Alphonse had made an animation for a gun, and you hold the gun in front of you like this, and you don't even shoot it, you just throw it. And me and Zeke just go crazy over it.
All right. Yeah, but honestly, stunning, amazing, fantastic, explosive, beautiful, great work. I want to give a round of applause to Jonas and Anger Management, and Zeke as well. Actually, Zeke also worked with that game. Spoiler alert. But does anyone from the chat have any questions about anger management, or the process, or anything related to it?
I have a quick question. Just, do I remember correctly? Didn't you guys put elevator music in between the levels as well?
Yes, you enter an elevator, and there's like a 5-second elevator thing.
Brilliant.
Into the loading screen is just elevator music. I also want to note that it cuts out from this heavy metal and directly into elevator music, and there's a loading screen, elevator music, and then into the heavy metal right again instantly.
Beautiful, the small moments like that, small touches. We have a great job from our Tom. Thank you, Tom. Yes, I love this project as well. All right, but if there's no more questions about anger management, I think it is quite streamlined and self-explanatory. Great work, Jonas and Zeke. I love it. But yeah, now that we're done with 3 projects, we're going to move to our last project, which actually isn't even a game project on its own. What we're going to look at right now is going to be a degree project. So first, I would like to give a bit of maybe background on what degree projects actually are. What degree projects are projects that students usually work on after they have completed like all the courses, all the game projects, and this is the time to make whatever you want. So do you want to make, I don't know, a full-fledged game? Do you want to experiment with a specific feature? Do you want to like, what do you want to do? Do you want to create a level? Do you want to make different guns, shoot different things, and explode different things? It's entirely up to you what you want to do, but for those 10 weeks, you set up a plan either with a team or by yourself, and you make something in that time span. There's no restrictions on what you're making. The only restriction is make it reasonable. Don't kill yourself trying to make a game in that time. And but a dream is a project that actually came out of a degree project. Once again, as with all the other projects today, it's a mind-blowing experience. You have guys put so much work into it, and it looks absolutely stunning. And without further ado, let's watch the trailer for it.
You're muted, Julia. You're muted.
Thank you. I just want to say that Fredrik and Zeke are going to be presenting, but and yeah, Fyodor, you can just launch it in the background. First of all, when watching this trailer, I knew where the jump scare was, so I actually kind of muted everything not to get jump scared on camera. But guys, could you tell me a bit more about the game?
Yeah, so But a Dream is a narratively heavy environmental scary game that we wanted to create as a degree project. Because under a lot of how do you say game projects and stuff, we didn't do a lot of narrative, and we really wanted to make a more narratively heavy. And one thing that us as game developer had as commons was scary games. And we really like more games that weren't a lot of jump scares, more environmental storytelling and just uncomfortably spooky. And those are games like Silent Hill and Alien Isolation stuff that you always feel that you're in fear. And that's like where it rolled off. And then we just started doing it. We really just wanted to have it more immersive and stuff. So we went first person. Then we wanted to make it even more things, so we had little UI. So yeah, we just wanted to make a really immersive, spooky, uncomfortable game that splits between days and nightmares. So yeah.
Awesome. Zeke and Fredrik, both of you, could you just talk me through what type of work did you do for the project? What were your roles?
Yes, my role was what you would call director product owner if you do agile or more that type of workflow, and the main implementer. So I did pretty much everything that made the game work. So opening the door, UI popping up at the right spot, just opening the right level, and all that technical background stuff. So yeah, a lot of implementing and a lot of tinkering.
Zeke, what about you? What was your contribution?
My role is UI UX designer, so I do user interface, and I decide what should I put in the interfaces, and I create some art assets, basically all the 2D art assets, and also the book which is coming.
Could you explain a bit more of what being a UI and UX designer actually means?
Well, that's a good question. UI stands for user interface, which is basically everything you interact in the game, that's not in the game world, but in the HUD, which we name as HUD. And also something like, let me give you an example, like in menu, option menu, and control menu, and all things you could interact in the game world, like book, and also, subtitles and notifications, tutorials, just everything that doesn't exist in the game world, but also could exist in game world, just like this book, which we call it, what's the name? Sorry, I forgot. Something immersive UI. Yeah, that's what I did. And I think also, if you remember, for the main manual, there's some child painting I designed as well, which is the most proud part I made in this game. I love child painting.
They're so cute. I love them.
Thank you.
Could you guys tell me a bit more about the background? Like, where did you get the idea for the game? How was it born?
The idea was mostly born of that we, as I said, wanted to do an immersive horror game that wasn't so much jump scare, but just feeling uncomfortable. But the real idea why it was But a Dream and nightmares and stuff just came about the ideas of people having nightmares that flew into the real life. That I don't remember exactly the word, but our friend Nelly had them when she was younger, and that means that sometimes you just feel it's so real, and it's like something so bad happening to you, like some bones are cracking or spider crawling up you, and you can't do anything, like night terrors or what it's called. And it's really an aspect of just how nightmares, how do you call it, flew into this real world, and how it can feel so real, but you don't feel like it's the same thing. And that sometimes you just really connect with, and really feel like, oh, I have had this. I dreamt oh, I was doing this thing, and then I was falling and then doing other things. So the real aspect came from that we really wanted to capture the aspect of dreams, and that's why you just snowballed into this. That you now, as you say, go into this thing, this shadow realm-ish type of thing. You're like, what is this? And then just go beyond that with this narratively driven.
So what I can see is that like there is a day world and then there's the nightmare world.
Yes.
How does the nightmare world actually function?
The nightmare world is what is a past of this house. The narrative idea was that you and your family was moving into this new house. That's why you're unpacking in the day and doing a lot of more basic chores and just exploring the house. But it's an old house from the old times, and this narrative or this diary comes from a child in the same age that you're playing, that lived there before, and explaining her story and the fears and the things that she experienced. So the nightmare is just more a cursed version of this house from more the olden times. So if you walk around, you see more old things and more like old curse that is like rusty and uncomfortable and dark and stuff. So the way it works is that it's the same house, but just, yeah, the dream version of it that just is horrible and just overgrown and you don't want to be there. Disgusting, wet, you know.
How did you actually manage to make like one world into two worlds, if we're talking about it technically? Because honestly, it looks stunning. I know Nelly isn't here to talk about level design. Perhaps if you have some insight into it.
Yeah, so luckily I helped a lot of our team with different things. I was, as said, the product owner, so I jumped around and just being supportive to everyone. And how we did this was that we first just built up the house in the day world, just looking, it's a real house, it looks the way we want, a bit old and stuff like that. And then we pretty much just copy-pasted the world and just created a dark version through just manipulating the materials on the wall. So if you walk around in this game and stuff, you realize the game is pretty much the same without just difference of like lesser assets and more older assets just to make this thing it. And so what we did pretty much was very easy, that we just built up a house and then just changed the walls, because the fun thing about how the walls and how we made them look disgusting, it's pretty much a barbed wire material that we just put on the walls and made them look that way, and it works. So we pretty much just kit bash things because we were just designers doing this game.
Yeah.
So we pretty much just randomly designed things and just tested out things, and it worked great. So yeah, that's how the houses were created. It's just made an old house, look at pictures, and then just how to make this disgusting. How do we not want to be there? So yeah. That's how the two houses were created.
That's so interesting. And again, I think you made it look so atmospheric, and all the assets that you added into it as well. Like when I was looking at you developing that game, I remember like you talking about the fan spinning and then creating shadows to make it more scary in the environment. There's just so many good design decisions that you put into it altogether. My question is probably a question all horror developers get asked. Do you ever get jump scared or scared while playing your own game? For both of you guys.
I got it every time. It's a big fun for me. I just watch me play it and to just get fun from I'm getting scared. It's crazy because it's my game and I got scared every time.
Yeah, Seek did not have a fun time playing this game. So sometimes they just like test out the game and just the fear practice for someone that's really scared. We just put Seek through the whole thing. But from my side, I'm a bit more what you would call like horror damaged. I have played a lot of horror games like Resident Evil 7 and stuff. And then what really made me a bit of an aspect to really scare me deeply was that I pretty much did Resident Evil 7 in one sitting, so 8 hours straight of that game. And if you played it, you know it's super freaking scary. So yeah, you got half used to it. So for me, it really helped us do it, what you would say, like optimizing the scare. So why does it make it scary? Because maybe you see later now in the gameplay that you will walk down a corridor and sometimes you just hear a voice breathing. And that's freaking disgustingly, you don't want to be there. And that's like makes it, even I that know scary games, I don't want to, I'm like, no, I don't want to go down there. So it was a lot of things that just really helped us, as we are fans of this, to just really make why do we want and how do we make ourselves scared. So yeah, so as you see there, a lamp blinking, you're like, I don't want to go down there. That's like, no. So it was just mostly just, how do we make ourselves uncomfortable? So yeah.
Another really fun question. Did you guys get nightmares from the chat?
Personally, I think like blinking lights has gotten me more uncomfortable than before. So if I would ever see a blinking light on in a court, I would like, I'm going to get jump scared here by this certain thing. So yeah, but I mean, Zeke, how did you feel? I think we discussed this, that you didn't want to play this game for a while.
No, it's traumatizing experience.
So, so it's a lot of different experience that made this game really fun, that even if you are not really or like aren't a fan, or if you are a fan, you can still enjoy it and still get a good spook out of it, but haunts you in different ways.
What was the most challenging aspect when developing this game for both of you?
Zeke, do you want to go first?
Well, I think the most challenging part is the book itself, the diary.
Oh, yeah, book.
Yes, from my side, I spent a lot of time figuring out how to make this scene look convincing, like diary written by a girl who lived 200 years ago, which is quite a big challenge, because my handwriting is terrible, I need to mimic the style of this, you know, and find some reference and try to figure out how that diary is written in a specific way, and how should I draw this picture to make sure it looks convincing, but also looks kind of childish. I spent a lot of time on sketching, and I think the final result is quite good, to be honest. Yes, yeah, I think that's the most challenging part for me.
Yeah. So for me, there, as I did pretty much every technical thing, there was, I can say there's a lot, but for me, the most fun thing that you don't really see much, but there was a lot of work that had the most iterations, was the doors. Because like the door problem that you see often in game development and spoke about in the sign-on, that you can think about the door very differently. And this took this problem to a whole new level, because opening a door is one thing, closing the door is another thing. And then, you know, opening a door nicely, pushing on the door. Oh, if an enemy stands behind it, how do you handle the door? Should they die behind the door? It's like, it's all those things that you just keep on doing. And I keep on working on the door until like the last week, just to like perfect on like, it feels nice opening, it feels nice closing, the enemy disappears behind the doors. And one thing that we also wanted was that the real world and the nightmare world reflect on each other. So if you watch the doors, you actually see that the doors are as open as you left them. So you can see like one door that you just pushed open is that much open in the nightmare world. And that's make like a connection to what dreams are, that they take small aspects of what you did in the real world into the nightmare world. That's make it like even spookier, because you're like, wait, did I open the door, or is it open for me to go in? So it creates a new aspect of spookiness. So, but yeah,
that is so
but
cool.
for yeah, so a lot of small tinkering and a lot of things that you think take for granted, and goddamn doors. It's sorry for my French, but Jesus.
I love how passionate you are about doors, to be honest. But also the portraits are so cool with changing expressions. I think you really managed to nail like the scariness of the atmosphere, but also like put enough polish into making it really fun, kind of quirky to play, and makes you a bit terrified.
Yeah, we got
right.
Yeah, a lot of luck with that. We had different designers with different aspects of gameplay and narrative. So we had everyone in one spot, and everybody was passionate in doing this.
That's awesome. What was like maybe the funniest or craziest bug that you encountered?
For me, it was when our dogs broke. So they didn't do any damage and try attacking you. So it was more that they was like trying to hug you. So after a while, it was just like 4 dogs walking around you through this level, and just like barking at you. So it was just that fun, and you're like, oh, they're trying to just get through. So we had some gameplay sessions that were just us going with our dogs through the level and just going through. So yeah, but yeah, what about you, Sig? Did we have any other fun bugs? Because yeah,
For me, just no single bug is fun. Bug is always terrible to me. But the just bug I remembered is sometimes the transition system just got fucked up. So if you can sleep at day 1 and wake up at night 3, and sleep at night 3, wake up day 3 or day 4, something like that. I feel like that part is quite confusing for me and take a while to finish them, because we have sort of a bunch of levels you need to fix, and you sort of kind of make them in the right sequence. And sometimes you just misplace one piece of them, the whole system gets broken. So thanks, Fredrik. That's a lot of work.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we had that. Yeah. So there was a lot of things we were like, what? And it's just behaving. And because our worlds are like the same and they look quite the same, it was hard to, oh, I'm actually in the wrong world. So yeah, it was a lot of, funny things like, what's happening? Why did it break?
This project was, well, it was definitely quite a long one. But now, since it was the last project in your curriculum at Futuregames, how would you compare it to perhaps the first couple of game projects or projects in general that you worked on before? What did you take from those projects into this project that made it so amazing at the end?
That's a very good question. And for me, I would say, compared to what I am for my previous project, in this project, I'm better at taking feedbacks and giving my feedbacks without considerations of being judged or judging other people. Because I work with a bunch of people that I feel very close to, and I feel very safe to express my feelings. So in this project, I feel like I'm better at communication, and I'm better at taking feedbacks without feel offended, and giving feedback without any fears. That's my biggest takeaway, I guess, for me.
What about you, Fredrik?
For me, it was feeling just like the focus and really doing a thing that wasn't with a random team, and really doing a thing that you're like, oh, this is a thing that I want to try out doing, and focus on narrative. And for me, it was just a lot of learning, that taking in what is the actual aspects of thinking design, that the second to second, minute to minute, and hour to hour, why a door has more of an impact on gameplay than, opening like like another thing that you just see one time. And that sort of takes in the real aspect of like, you don't need a lot of things in a game to just make it fun. You need to just like find what the small things are, and you just feel like, oh, this game is great. This really has this aspect. Because if you think about what our game really has and what the depth is of our game, it isn't really a lot of things we have in it, but there's a lot of things that makes our game, and how we use it, and like the special aspects of why is it fun? Why do we like playing it? Why is it jump scaring us? What is just generally the fun part of it? So for me, it was just taking in and just realizing that we are doing games to be able to be played, and you're playing the games to have an experience, fun, or just playing it. And that's really took in on why it doesn't need to be a have a lot. And that's like a cumulative on why, yeah, all the years and the degree part of why it was so fun, because you can really do the thing and just focusing on it. And yeah, so yeah.
Thank you.
Guys,
one final question is,
yeah, sorry, Julia, to interrupt, but amazing projects. I think we will be heading to Q&As if there are any questions. I don't know if you wanted to ask something, Julia, in addition.
just one final tip for everyone interested in starting game dev.
From my aspect, you don't need a lot of things to make the game fun. It can pretty much just be a walking simulator, or you just using 2 buttons to pretty much just walk with 2 legs. It can be fun with just that. It also need to have 15 billion things like AAA games or 15 billion cinematic animations. It's just like, well, you just need to have fun or like just have a nice experience with it. You don't need a lot of things to make it great, and why we love to play games. And I think just aspecting you as new game developers, just taking a step back from your designer role and go back into you as a gamer and just play your project as a game. Why do you like it? Why should it be better? Or what can you make it better? So it's just like, play the game, have fun. Just don't need to have 15 billion things.
I consider myself a graphic designer more than game designer, so I couldn't give very good advice about game design. But one thing I know is always taking good care of yourself, your health, especially mental health, is so important. And try not to crunch. And if you feel pressured, talk about it. Don't feel hesitant about it. Just ask for help and seek help and support from people you trust in school. Please take good care of yourself and take breaks, drink water. That's my advice. Take breaks.
Thank you so much, you guys. Let's give once again clap to Team But a Dream. You guys did a wonderful job with the presentation and the game itself. But honestly, all the 4 games today are just amazing. I don't have enough words to express it, and I, even as a member of staff, I'm just flabbergasted. How do you guys make it? So cool, so polished, so much love, so much attention, so much fun. Just
couldn't make it without you.
Thank you. All right, Theodore, but you had a Q&A session brewing up right now, right?
Yeah, amazing projects. Again, thank you for showing this and sharing with us your background, and workflow and all the backside of this, how we got there. So I wonder if there are any questions from our audience. Guys, feel free to write them in the chat or ask them out loud.
Yeah, feel free to ask anything about school, about projects, anything you might be wondering, maybe something isn't clear, we can help you out in here. Also, I think this is a great time to mention that we have an open house tomorrow. It's the same time. So if you go to our website, you probably will find information about it there. But please do join our open house if you have any further questions. In there, we're going to be split into like different disciplines and different breakout rooms. So just feel free to join and chat with, more specific. Like, let's say you want to become a programmer, you can talk with programmers and members of staff who work with programming.
I'm also giving my email address dedicated to our enrollment process. You can write there with any questions. I will answer them or my colleagues. I can also quickly share the link to tomorrow's open house here.
Yes, please do.
So you are more than welcome to be there. Maybe Artyom, for you, it will be too much. 4th in a row with us, listening to similar information, but you are welcome there as well. So. Okay, so I think there's no more questions. So
there's a question.
There's one in chat.
Oh yeah. How are these game projects funded? Or is it a school project and all the resources are provided by the school?
Who wants to answer that?
I don't know.
I can.
You guys know the answer to that.
Yeah, I mean, for all the project besides the 4th one that we get a budget, I'm not sure how the school is doing with that money, but from every other project, it's pretty much just us either creating them ourselves or just combining free assets from Quixel Mega Scans on Unreal Engine or some free assets on just Unity Store that we just combine into making this and just doing by ourselves. So it's a lot of kit bashing and just putting things that wouldn't fit together and then make it half work. So yeah, so it's mostly just free things and just kit bashing it together.
To be a bit more specific on that, the game projects are not necessarily funded. During the game projects, we give the students a theme, and they need to work around that theme to make the most fitting game for that theme. So once again, for game project 2 with Vanta, for example, the theme was symbiosis. So we assemble a team of all the disciplines. They sit down together, they come up with a game idea, and they work on it. Once again, there's no real funding behind that game, but we do provide all the mentoring. We have a lot of industry mentors come in and just look at projects, give them feedback all throughout the projects as they're developing it, and for the final jury days. For example, once the game is fully done, they get to sit down with industry professionals. They look at game, they criticize it, they give feedback, they give praise, etc., etc. So that's usually the way it works. For almost all of our projects, there is a collaboration with art students as well. So for many projects, there's actually no budget we give you for assets, and you have to create all the assets by yourself. Once again, Game Project 4 and Degree Project are kind of exceptions to that because they're very open to whatever you want to make. But for all the other projects, you team up with other people who are going to be making those art assets, animations, sprites, etc. for you. Once the project is done, we publish all of our projects on our itch page, and sometimes if the game is really, really awesome, we publish it on Steam as well, on our Futuregames Steam page. If the students want to develop the game further, for example, we've seen a few cases where the students just made a fantastic product. During these weeks, we can take it further, and we give full ownership of the game to the students, where they get to do whatever they want with it. Do they want to start selling it? Do they want to actually make it commercial? Or, whichever way they want to go, we'll let them do it.
Did any project get really published and successful during that, or like you said that if some project is good and it might have a success, did some students finish it and get a successful game out to the Steam with the sales? Is there any case like that?
Yes, and basically, it's a very tricky question because the answer is it depends. But yes, of course, we have a lot of successful projects. I'm going to, once again, take a small step back to preface that the point of our education is for you to have an amazing portfolio. So then you can start, because we have internship as a part of our program. An internship basically means your foot in the door in the industry. So once you've made a super cool game project, you get to put it on your portfolio page, from which you get to, once again, send out applications to a bunch of different studios. For most students who study at Futuregames, the final goal is to get a job in the industry. So for a lot of really, really awesome projects, sometimes they're not taken further just because the students, by the time the education ends, are already working in a specific studio. And most of the times, these awesome projects actually were the reason why they got hired in that studio in the first place. However, we do have a lot of examples. For example, was it last year or the year before, where the UX student created a game called Blockem, and that game was actually bought by and published by an external studio. So sometimes if a studio sees potential, they might buy the rights to the game, or they might kind of buy up the developers and then hire them in their company. Sometimes students publish games on their own. For example, we had last year as well a game called How Fish is Made, and it absolutely blew up on social media, and Hideo Kojima commented something on Twitter about it. So there's so many different directions your game can take. But of course, most of it is for portfolio purposes, just exploring what you want to do, putting it on it, and then getting your foot in the industry. And of course, many students have started their own companies and have developed either game projects or projects from scratch into full-fledged games and published them.
Can I add something on that?
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, because the game projects are they're a huge learning opportunity as well. Sure, we have the courses in between, but it's not until you actually try to make something that you really get into the meat of how an engine works and how the design process works. So even if the game is really bad and you might be really unhappy with whatever it is, you learn a lot, even though it might not be a good game.
I see a question in the chat. By the way, did this answer your question? Okay, I'm gonna take it as yes.
Yes, sure.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So I have one question. If I understand correctly, projects are made by different students for different courses at Futuregames. But since Warsaw at first year, there will be 3 courses, there will be some kind of collaboration with students from Sweden or something like that. Do we have any info to share about that, Piotr?
Yes, definitely. We are opening these 3 courses precisely to allow students to team up. So if you have programmer, artist, and designer, you can create a game, right? Okay, you need a tester. So we definitely will be bridging with Sweden and somehow create this collaboration. But generally, Futuregames Warsaw is intended to be self-sufficient in terms of teaming up students and creating games. So
yeah, that's a really good point. You can absolutely make a game with these 3 disciplines. The reason why we discussed a bit more before is because in a lot of different sites, we have like different educations offered. So of course there is some sort of collaboration going on, but you can absolutely make projects with just these 3 disciplines. And we have seen that happen time and time again. As far as I know, in Stockholm, for example, the way they run projects is just by designers, programmers, and artists being together. So perhaps there will be some collaboration with maybe QA or project managers. We'll see, and time will tell.
yeah. Yeah, Marcin's.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have anything they are curious about?
Okay, then I think we will be wrapping up to all.
It's a question. Hello.
The question from Artyom.
Okay.
What was, can someone read the question? I can't read it.
How students co-op to start a project?
I can half answer that, as our degree project was between here in the north and in Stockholm. It's just like, you know, we just wanted to make a thing again together, and we were just like, hey, I know you, you're fun to work with, you know me, I'm fun to work with you, and then it's just like, let's do something. So I mean, it's just like everybody wants to make games here, and so it's more just like taking the first step and just saying like, hey, I want to make a game, does someone else want to make a game? Yeah. So it's just like, it's hard to say on how do you co-op. It's like sometimes you get forced into like meeting other people and then you just click, and sometimes just you and your friends just want to do something together, and then you just like, you start co-oping together with the game. So I just say, just go around asking and just be open with, I want to make a game, and then other people will say, hey, I also want to make a game, because yeah, there's a lot of us, as said, we're nerds.
Yeah, I just want to add to that for game projects, the teams are predetermined and randomized, so you actually never know who you're going to be working with. But for all the other projects, especially if it's like a side project that you want to work on, or like a degree project, feel free to choose your own team.
There's a follow-up on it. Is there a meeting with all the students together? It says.
Tomorrow during open house, feel free to visit it. And if you want to talk to someone specific, you can. One meeting with all the students would be a bit chaotic, I think. So we have a good distinction between different disciplines tomorrow during the open house. So once again, there's breakout rooms for like, let's say design, programming, art, etc. So you can just come and listen in, ask any questions you might have about the specific discipline. And yeah, just hop around a few rooms.
And sometimes there are just random parties in town that a lot of the students go to together. So yeah, a lot of different places.
One day you could hear your teachers sing karaoke. We've heard it.
Oh, that was a great day.
Multiple days.
I feel like I know much more about the school after this webinar, meeting you guys, because being here, marketing guy, okay, having some general overview and opinions, but I think I got some nitty-gritty also of the processes.
That's great. I can't wait for the school in Poland as well.
Yeah, you're all invited here. We have great food, great weather, right, Sergiusz? Sorry for sending
Yeah,
you
yeah.
here. Sorry for sending Golden. Actually, Sergiusz was the first, one of the first people who trusted us already last year and enrolled to Futuregames to be 2022. We didn't open, so here he is in Boden, freezing his head off there.
Yeah, we stole him into Sweden, but hopefully this year we can grand open the school in Poland as well. And I think it's going to be so exciting because there's so much cool stuff happening in Poland. So we really need to kickstart it. And yeah, we can't wait.
Nice opening party, so feel invited. Okay, I think we'll be wrapping up. I can't see any more questions. Julia, thank you for good work today. Yes.
Thank you. But actually, no, I did nothing. Like, it's all thanks to Sergiusz, Bryan, Gustav, Zeke, Jonas, and Fredrik. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and everyone in the chat
really
listening in and
Thank you
asking
for having
questions.
us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having us. Yeah.
And we will definitely
are amazing.
follow up of this webinar in our social media. So.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Okay, thank you, audience, and you all have a good evening. And let's keep in touch.
Lovely evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining, everyone. Have a nice
Bye.
evening. Bye.